What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the first episode of the Beyond the Numbers podcast with Max Messett. I'm super excited to get this first episode out there. My first guest for this episode is Jessica Calleja. Her and her husband Jared are longtime friends of mine, great people, so I'm super excited to have a good conversation with her here. She is a realtor with Century 21, so going to have some really good information about the real estate market, some tips and tricks for buyers and sellers. Just kind of some overall good conversation to kind of see how that intertwines with what we do here at Orsinger Investment Group. So glad you guys are here to check out the first episode. I hope it's a good watch. Hope you guys get some good content and maybe even a connection for a real estate situation you might be in at some stage. But again, super excited to lay down this first one. So let's go ahead and get right into it. How did you get into real estate?
Perfect world. You mean how I actually got into real estate?
There you go.
All right. So in high school, I started my classes in about 2020, finished those, took my test, and got my license.
Your real estate test?
Yes. Graduated high school, went to college, was just kind of doing real estate on the side, part-time. And then after I went to college for marketing, got my bachelor's degree, got my MBA, went to the corporate world, kind of had a full-time job, and then just kind of started doing good at real estate. And I was like, dang, I could do this. So quit my job last year.
What were you doing?
I was, let's see here. So I started off working for a company doing marketing events. So I helped out with corporate events around the States.
Okay.
And then I moved into property management. So I did that for, I want to say 2 years. And then now I sell homes. So
what holds you into selling homes? Like, what do you enjoy about the job? So you come out of college, you're a marketer. Marketing, you run events, you're starting off great. What made you want to shift from that? And you're doing real estate on the side. And I know, obviously, we've known each other for quite a while. So you have some rentals or some whatever that is. What makes you shift? When's the shift takes place that you're like, man, real estate's not bad. Being a realtor, like, I could do this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I would say that I kind of just get bored doing the exact same thing every day.
Okay. Yeah.
And in real estate, nothing's the exact same.
Right.
Like, every single deal I do is completely different. Something you have to adapt and change. And I feel like that's just in all of real estate. You have to adapt, change, and do something different each time. Think of new ideas, think outside of the box. And that's what I love most about real estate is I'm helping not only the purchaser or the seller,
right,
but I'm also going deeper into it. Like, how can I go the extra step for you and make sure I'm helping you?
Right. So that's on a daily basis. That's your favorite part of the job, then?
Yeah, I love a new challenge. So that's what I'm kind of after. Like, I don't like the cookie cutter things. Like, don't get me wrong, it's nice to have a cookie cutter one every so often, but I like when there's something new. Like, it's a first-time home buyer who has literally no money. Like, when I actually own a duplex myself.
Okay.
So when I bought that, I mean, I had no money. I was in like debt. So like credit card debt from college and everything like that. And I ended up buying our duplex with $500. So, I mean, it was nice.
So then what it's like that when somebody's talking first home buyer, you can relate with them. It's not like I'm only dealing with this side over here with a big house. I mean, you're hands on.
Oh my gosh, yeah. No, I know what it's like to have no money, be broke, have debt, and still end up buying a home.
Coming out of school.
Yeah,
coming out of school.
And I mean, I still did it, so it's nice, and it encourages other people too. I feel like understanding it and knowing, like, okay, it's not going to be the easiest, but it's definitely possible to buy something with no money.
So then let's jump. When you say you're working with clients and a client approaches you or however that, and we can get into that a little bit too to see how that process goes. But what's your full role? And I know this is kind of a loaded question, but what's your full role from start to finish? That hey, I need a house. I'm looking to buy a house, and I'm going to choose you to help me do this. Can you walk me through the steps of what that looks like?
Absolutely. So first, whether you're a buyer or a seller, we set up a good time to just meet, have coffee, chat, just figure out where you are financially, where you are kind of in your headspace about buying a home, and just understand like what your goals are, because your goals might be different from another person's goals. Like, for example, my first goal for my first home was to invest. I wanted something that
An investment property.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So I knew, like, I want something that will grow long term, but I wanted a long term rental. So that was my goal when I bought my home. For example, or like if your goal were to buy a home that you can flip and sell multiple years down the line. So I want to understand that and understand why you're doing it, what is influencing you, and kind of if there's anything that you might be uncertain of. So I just want to lay it all out on the table when we first meet, understand just the meat and bones of things, so then I can know, one, how I can best serve you, but two, if I can best serve you. So, I mean, there's definitely people who I know, I mean, I just don't know if we'd be a good fit. So we need to make sure not only I'm a good fit for you, but you're a good fit for me.
So it doesn't necessarily start with the houses straight away.
No.
It doesn't, because I think that might be a misconception, you know, for people that are listening. It's like, and I don't know if it's a scary thing, but, you know, reaching out to somebody and saying, hey, I'm kind of putting my trust in you is a lot. And, and I know I've heard talk, and same thing in our industry, you know, you hear talk of people that I worked with so-and-so and it was a great experience, or I worked with so-and-so and they didn't do what I thought. Or so you're having that up front, kind of, as we call it, initial consultation meeting to really get that connection, really figure out where you stand, where the client stands.
But also to like set expectations too, like just know off the jump. And some people don't do it that way. Like, I know there's a lot of agents who will just take you straight into a home and show you houses, set you up on a search. Maybe they won't even set you up on a search, but I want to meet face to face first. One, to make sure that you're qualified, like you are a serious buyer. Because if you're willing to sit in front of me, then I know, like, you're willing to go through the process and everything like that. But just get comfortability, because if like you and I were just to meet in a random home, you might not be as open to me as if we were to meet previously, get coffee, like understand that we like mesh together and everything, and then kind of go from there.
So kind of like, you know, on our side as well, that you have to be able to be open and honest up front as a client and as a, you know, financial advisor or a realtor, that you have to give the information that needs to get known to allow us to know your goal, right?
Absolutely.
It's funny how much overlap there is when you start talking about this. Of it's tough when a client holds in information because you don't know what they're expecting. When they lay those expectations out of, here's truly what I'm looking for, here's my financial situation, it allows us then to really get a feeling on, what are we going to do? How can we help you? I think that's always what we're looking to do on both ends of the table. You know, ours is investments. Obviously, yours is a little different of buying a home. But no, that's cool, because it's just funny as you get into conversations like this, how much you realize things do overlap. And then on the client needs side, we do a very similar process to that. The first one's always come in, let's talk, and you got to figure out the needs and where they're looking to end up, right? That's always the end goal.
And we have people too who they might come in for a consultation, and like the next step would be getting pre-approved. So after you and I meet, I'm going to give you a couple lenders who I think are best suited for you. And then that would be your goal, to go home, talk to these lenders, figure out, because I mean, I feel like a lot of people just go on Zillow, Realtor, whatever. They get a pre-approval and then they're like, hey, I'm pre-approved. But like, that lender is giving you the biggest loan of your life. And so not only should you be picking a realtor that you trust, but you should be picking a lender that you can trust, one that's local, maybe that has the best options for you, because some of these people are just pushing out pre-approvals. And another big thing too is, you might tell me one thing, but a lender is going to actually go in, do the pulls, and say like, hey, like, this is showing something completely different. So I don't know if you guys have that in your industry, where you have people who say up front, like, oh yeah, I can do this, this, and that, but then you do the pools and the actual thing, and you're like, well, I don't know if that would be feasible.
Yeah, we don't have, not necessarily really. I think I can relate to that more on the life insurance side and the insurance side, just with getting everything approved through that and going through underwriting and stuff. But so all right, so we're at the stage, you're through the initial consultation meeting with somebody, you realize you want to work with them, they want to work with you. Your second step's at pre-approval. I know there was a video, and I watched it from you someday. She has great videos out there for anyone that does watch. I know she has a lot of good educational pieces. You had talked about pre-approval versus something else.
Pre-qualification.
Can you take us through that real quick? Because I think that was I watched it and I was like, I didn't even know this.
Yeah. So there's pre-qualification and there's pre-approval. So typically, and some things have changed. So, I mean, the verbiage is sometimes thrown around differently. But for most case scenario, a pre-qualification is just you giving up your information. So I go to Joe Schmo and I'm like, hey, I've got $500,000 in the bank. I want to buy $1 million property and I make $5,000 a month. Right. Then they're like, oh, so with a $500,000 down payment, $5,000 a month, you can afford this home.
Gotcha.
Whereas pre-approval, I go to Joe Schmo. I give him my bank statements. I also give him my pay stubs and any information that he needs. He'll run us maybe even a soft pull credit and tell me, hey, you qualify for this amount of mortgage and you're pre-approved. So pre-qualification is where you give your information to the lender. Gotcha. Versus pre-approval is when the lender actually looks through your information that you provide. So it's verified.
Okay. So then does pre-approval set you up on that stage of you're ready to pull the trigger on a home?
Yeah.
Okay.
So pre-qualification is good if you just want a rough idea. You might not be fully serious about it. Pre-approval is like, okay, we're writing offers on things.
Right.
So, and you can write an offer with the pre-qualification, but it's not as strong as a pre-approval.
On the seller side then?
Yeah, on the seller side, you want to see pre-approval.
Okay.
And you want to know too, so another thing on the seller side is you might get a pre-approval from one lender who it might just be, oh, that scared me. So you might get a pre-approval from somebody who they might say like, they might just push out, like I said, they push out pre-approvals and everything like that, and deals just kind of don't go through.
Right.
So as your realtor, I might just kind of tell you, hey, look, I believe you should work with a local lender because they're going to make sure everything's just completely verified.
Right.
Whereas some of these people who are out of country, out of state, they might just be pushing it out, not actually taking a look at your stuff. And then when it comes time to sign the documents, they just kind of...
You're in a spot that's like maybe...
They disappear.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I got you. Because I knew, and like I said, I knew there was a video you had put out at some stage, and I watched it, and I had no idea before watching it that was I guess I assumed, most people probably assume they're the same thing, right?
Yeah, no.
Like, oh, I'm pre-qualified, and everybody's like, oh, sweet, like, let's start looking, or whatever that looks like, where pre-approval is the actual, I'm ready to get this deal done, let's start looking.
Yeah, so. And with a good realtor, I mean, they'll be able to guide you and say like, hey, look, this is pre-qualification, go back to your lender, and hey, that person who gave you a pre-qualification, you might be able to go back to them, give them your information, and get that pre-approval. So get to the next step.
Right.
But it's a matter of just making sure you're having that conversation and keeping all parties involved.
Gotcha. Okay, so we're initial consultation. We're getting pre-approved, not pre-qualified. We're going to go get pre-approved. Now what?
All right. So next set is I'm going to go ahead when we meet for our initial consultation. You and I are going to talk about what you're looking for in a home. Gotcha. So you might be looking in a specific area. You might have qualifications and everything like that. I'm going to take that down and I'll set up a home search for you.
Okay.
So this automatically sends you homes that fit exactly what you're looking for. So you could still use all of the websites and apps to send me listings, but this is a real-time updated version of that. And
it's kicking it out to the buyer. I mean, there's parameters set into it, and this is going to allow, new house comes on the market, bam, it's going to anybody that you're working with that has interest in it.
Yep.
Not necessarily just one person, but maybe you have 10 clients that have the same parameters.
Yeah.
That's getting shuffled out. Okay.
Yeah,
That's
and
awesome.
It only will come to you if, let's say, you are only looking for 3 bedrooms or more. If it's a 2-bedroom, you're not going to get that, which is nice. So then you're not sifting through Zillow every day like, hey, I want this or this, and having to rechange your filters.
You know what you want, and it's really, I mean, it's going to be narrowed down to what you, so yeah, I guess that takes us to like some people that have certain wants and needs. That's why it takes so long to buy a house sometimes. I feel like, and not that this might not be fully true, but some people look at the realtor as like, hey, you're not finding me the house, but in reality, there's just no house that you set the parameters.
Yeah.
After you guys talk, you know what you're looking for. And maybe the market that they're in is just not one that has a lot of houses in it, or 5 bedroom, 6 bedroom. It's like, around here we don't have a lot of 5-6 bedroom houses, at least that I'm not aware of. So.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And so like personally, when we were looking for our second home, the one that we're in now,
yeah.
I mean, it took us a year from when we decided like, okay, we're going to find a home versus, all right, we're actually moved in, of just looking. So, I mean, it varies for everybody. If you're, I would say the more generic you keep it at first, the better. And then as we're starting to look at homes, like let's say you tell me you want a two bedrooms or more, and then you want it in all of one specific county.
Right.
But then as we're starting to look, you're saying, okay, I'm not really preferring this area in this county as much. We can narrow it in.
Gotcha.
The more narrow you get, the harder it is. Yep. But in like, we can always start very narrow and then make it more broad. So you might cut out half of the county, but then realize nothing in the other side is fitting within your price range. And I'm never going to force you into something that might be way above your price range either. So we might go from there and say like, all right, we need to kind of, you might be more open to looking in that other side of the county. So
and I apologize, I think I got us off track a little bit there.
No, you're good.
Second question. So we're looking at houses now. You got us in the home search. Houses are coming to us. Are we going to look at them? Are we?
Yeah. So next we'd be able to start looking at them. We do. So this is newer in our industry. We do have a buyer agency agreement form. Okay. So with me, you can either decide to sign a flat out buyer agency agreement where I represent you for a term of time. So it might be 6 months to a year. I'll let you know at that initial consultation too what my payment expectations are. And that isn't typically paid by the buyer, but there are situations where it's negotiable. Okay. So it's always negotiable between the seller, between the buyer, but you get a flat out understanding of what my compensation is. And it's also just on this buyer agreement. So we'll sign either that or a pre-touring agreement. So if after the initial consultation you're still not sure about me, before we go into that first home, we'll either sign a pre-touring agreement where it's a set time, like let's say only for this home or only for one day that I'm showing you homes that you will abide by this contract and everything like that. Okay. Now when we go to write the offer, we do have to have this buyer agency agreement fully signed, just kind of saying, hey, and that might be for a month. So we might sign a buyer agency agreement for a month or still also for a week and then end up not working together and that expires. Gotcha. So, so we sign that agreement and then, we're touring homes. So we're looking at any home. Obviously, we try to keep it within your parameters. So we're not going to be trying to look at homes that are two bedrooms. Right. Now, if you're open to the possibility of exploring something that might be slightly out of your parameters, I might suggest those too. Yeah. So we're looking at homes next, and that's kind of the next step that goes from there. When we're looking at homes, we have certain things that we're looking out for and that I'm trying to look out for you. I'm not an inspector, so that's exactly, and I will lead because that was a question that I had thought of to throw in there at some stage of what are things, because I think that's a big one, and on your side is what are things that you're keeping an eye out. And there's probably not specific things that you can give at every house, but it's what are you looking at that's kind of leading a buyer down the right path? Yeah. Not to set them up for failure, I guess. Absolutely. So when we're looking at homes, I preface with, I'm not an inspector. Yeah. So like I said before, like I can't tell you like, oh, I see a water spot in the roof. Right. Like your roof's going to need replaced. No, I cannot say that. Right. But I might say, hey, when the inspector comes out here, we might want to see if he'll look at that water spot or foundations. So foundations are a big one. We might see a huge gaping crack in the foundation, and I would just say, hey, we should have a structural engineer come take a look at this when you're in the inspection period of your contract and everything like that. But I can't tell you like, oh, like that's bad. That's going to cost you like $10,000 because I'm not a contractor. Right. But I definitely try to keep my eyes open because you might have experience in that personally. And I want to make sure like I'm your eyes too. So I want to make sure that you see, you are smelling, you're looking, you're understanding your home. Because I mean, I've also done FaceTime tours with people who are out of state, which is like huge because like they're buying a home based off of a FaceTime call that I had with them. So I definitely want to make sure like, hey, here's cosmetic imperfections. Here's like what the roof looks like. Here's what I'm smelling even. Like I'll walk into homes on a FaceTime tour and it might smell like cat pee or something like that, which is unfortunate, but I want to make sure they know too. So then it's like, okay, hey, I don't know how like if you prefer this or not, but
Right.
it has a little smell to it. It might smell a little
Right.
musty or something
Yep.
like that. I just want you to be
Yep.
aware of that and maybe get a mold inspection while
Right.
you're here. So
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I think that's a big, and as you know, I've worked with you in a couple things that just we walk in and it's what is that, or you're just not sure, but it's the way of, because at the end of the day you're not trying to lead a client down the wrong path.
Oh my gosh, no.
You want them to buy something they want, and not saying that they don't always want that, but maybe it is something, it's an easy fix, or maybe a water line broke, or just it needs dried out, or whatever that looks like. But yeah, I think the important part on both sides of the table for us is that we are just trying to get clients, making the best decision. I don't know if there, and we have this internal conversation as well, I don't know if there is a right or wrong decision.
Oh no, not at all.
Always just, do I think there's a better or worse decision? Probably.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's just whatever the client's comfortable with is the better decision. Because
Absolutely.
you're just not trying to get somebody pigeonholed into something that they're like, I really didn't want this. Yeah. So I get exactly what you're saying. So
Absolutely.
definitely keep an eye out. So we're touring homes. You're keeping an eye out for me, making sure that things aren't musty, no cats are peeing in the corner. Where do we go from there? We finally land on one that's like, I think this could be my forever home.
Yeah. Hey, and it might not be a forever home. It might be a starter home.
True. Maybe I want to flip it. Yeah, whatever that
you
looks
never
like.
know. Is that your goal forever home?
Right.
But yeah, so we land on the one and you're like, this is the one.
Yep.
From there, we will talk about and work on an offer together.
Okay.
Get that situated. Make sure I understand anything that an agent. So something that I do behind the scenes too for my clients is I'll reach out to the listing agent, figure out if there's anything like we should know, anything that the sellers want us to know, things like the details that are going to go into our offer as well, and how we can frame your offer to be the best offer too. Because we might say like, okay, we want to offer X amount and everything like that, and we want to be like the best and the highest offer, but the best offer is not always the highest offer. So I always reach out to that listing agent to find out like, oh, they want extra time to stay in their home after it closes, or hey, they really want good terms. So they might really want earnest money, things like that. And let's say you and I put together an offer without even finding out that information. I could have just set you up for failure by just not communicating and doing my job at the end of the day. So I find out what kind of is important to that seller. So it might not always be price. So everybody thinks when there's multiple offers in on a home, price is what they want. And I mean, yes, might be the case for a good chunk of sellers, but sometimes it might be possession time or earnest money, or they want a conventional buyer. Gotcha. So I would go back to my client and let them know, hey, look, there's multiple offers, but their most important thing is that they want to be able to stay in their home and rent back. So in our offer, our initial offer, without them even having to negotiate it in, I might just say, hey, I would probably recommend to you to consider a rent back option. So we might work out an offer where you're offering to rent back the home for super cheap amount a month, and that would attract you over maybe an offer that's $20,000 above. So there's no guarantees about it, but it's always just a nice touch to go the extra mile for them.
Which in turn still with the buyer. I mean, has the same, maybe they're looking to move in 2 weeks and it's like, I don't want to rent back. They need something that they can get into as soon as possible, or they're selling their house as well. I know there's a lot of variables that go into it. So we put a good offer in. Seller's like, I think this is the one for me, and we realize, hooray, it's us, right? What's next steps from there?
So when we have that kind of verbal acceptance, it's not a true acceptance. So we don't want to get too excited until we have a fully executed agreement. Once we have the fully executed agreement, I get back with my client, let them know the next steps. So there's earnest money, title companies that get involved, lenders that get involved. So this is where everybody starts coming together to start saying like, all right, let's get these moving pieces and stuff. And so I kind of help keep that all together and keep that structured and organized for you. So you really don't have to worry about it unless I'm reaching out to you for something your lender is or the title company is. So I let you know, hey, your earnest money is due within 3 to 5 days. Here's where we need to turn it into. Here's the amount. And then, hey, we have until X date to handle all of our inspections. Here's a couple inspectors I recommend. Let me know who you want, and I'll go ahead and schedule it for you. So you don't even have to worry about that either. You just tell me a name. And then title company and lender. So I give you the contacts to them. So if they reach out, everything like that. And then we kind of just go from there, work through the process. And
when does like inspection come into play? I know that's a big one for a lot of people.
Inspections, it's all negotiated in the contract. Okay. So the most common way that I see it is as soon as you have an accepted offer, that's our time to get our inspection. So you have an inspection period. And in that period,
so it is like a time frame that you have. Okay.
Yeah, and typically it's anywhere, I would say normal, and it's different for everybody,
right,
but normal would be about 10 to 14 days after acceptance is your time frame to get your inspections
Verbal
done.
Acceptance, or once that whole...
No, fully executed, so signed. So nothing verbal. I mean, it holds some weight, but at the end of the day, it holds no weight. Right. So unless you have a signed pen to paper agreement, nothing's moving. So we're not paying money for inspections and stuff. Like, let's say we have a verbal acceptance on Monday, but we don't get a signed agreement until Thursday. We're not doing anything in that time frame until we have something on Thursday. Gotcha. Thursday is when the work starts. Yeah. So yeah.
And then everything gets signed, title company comes in, deed gets transferred, or however, that looks, and they pick up a mortgage, assuming, I guess, and then it's your house now, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff nitty gritty that goes on.
We don't right.
But if we want to talk dreamland, you're talking about 30 days, but from contract to close in most scenarios. Sometimes you have 45 days, 60 days, but within about 1 to 2 months.
And then once closing, it's yours. You're going in, you're getting the keys, and
everything's negotiated. So in the contract, you might have something that says you have a month until you're able to move in, or you have a week. So that time the sellers might still own the property. Typically, it's at the time of closing. Once everything records is when you get the keys.
Okay.
Now it's different in both states, actually. So Ohio and Pennsylvania are a little bit different when it comes to closing table and everything. So in Ohio, the buyer and seller close separately. And I'm sure you're familiar from when you close, you guys close at the same exact table.
Right.
So in Ohio, the seller typically signs everything first, and then the buyer goes in, transfers the money, and signs. So you don't get your keys typically in Ohio until everything is fully funded and recorded. So the deed's recorded, they have the money, and things are getting dispersed. Whereas in Pennsylvania, the money's still transferred prior to your closing, but it's happening. Like, once you sign, you're getting your keys from the seller. Obviously, things change. So everything's negotiable, and in either state, things could be worked out differently. But those are the most common ways of closing.
Gotcha. So then, and obviously, I want to preface this as well. She is licensed in PA and Ohio. I think we forgot to touch on that at the beginning. But so she can do both sides of the line and help you on both sides. No, that's awesome. So that's kind of the overview, I guess, the fly overview of the start to finish process. In that process, I guess, what is something, and this is kind of your time to shine here, of giving a buyer or a seller kind of a little piece. What do you think an agent, where does the agent's part become so important?
Absolutely.
And what do you think that you provide as a on their side that really, I don't want to say makes it easier for them, but I'll let you take that, because that's...
Absolutely. So I feel like there's so many different ways you can go about that question, honestly, to start. Kind of to give you an overview, and then we can deep dive into it if you'd like. But mainly representation. So when you're having an agent represent you, they're taking that liability off of you in a sense, not 100%. So like, for example, if you're a seller and you falsely represent your home on a disclosure, that liability does shift on you a little bit, but we're helping you through everything. So we're ensuring all the documentation is in place, because there's a lot of documentation that goes into it. Even if you're selling for sell by owner, you still need to handle this documentation appropriately and make sure you're doing everything by the books. Because if not, I mean, you're the one who ends up getting sued, not us, if you're doing for sell by owner. So that, and then marketing your home. So we take all of that off of you when you sign to sell with us, and we're making sure that your home is getting the most exposure possible, and we're not missing anybody. One thing that I offer in my listings are professional photography, videography. So I do social media content and everything like that. open houses. I do cold calling, farming in neighborhoods, flyers. I'll do door knocking.
Yeah.
There's so much nitty gritty that I do on top of just that might not even, as a person, if you decide to go sell your house just yourself, you might not be thinking about all these things or doing all these things or have the time.
Or want, right?
Yeah.
Or want. I think that's a big part of it, is the time and want to, am I going to go door knocking for my own house? Yeah. I don't know.
And it's awkward. Nobody wants to do door knocking.
Right.
Even myself, like I do it and I enjoy it and I love talking to new people. But like the dread of having to go do it, it gets at you, like the anxiety and stuff. Yeah. But just having the time for that, you might have a full-time job, but this is my full-time job, is helping you with selling your home, because it is a full-time job taking on that, especially when it comes to even just one home that you're listing. There's so much work that goes in just to get it onto the market. Yeah. And then flipping it over to the buyer side, making sure that you guys are seeing all the listings that are coming onto making sure that you're represented well. So there's different strategies to negotiation as well that want to make sure, I want to make sure you're getting the best deal possible suited for your goals. Right. So I'm keeping that in mind during negotiations. I'm also your counselor. So, gosh, us realtors, we take on so many different roles that are outside of our actual, physical roles. So you might be an overly emotional person, which is perfectly okay. This is a huge deal. But I make sure that everything stays level. So when we're negotiating with the seller, we might be on the phone and you might be crying to me like, gosh, what are we going to do, Jessica? We're going to lose this home. Right. But I'm going to go to the seller and have professionalism and everything like that. Whereas if you're dealing directly with each other, emotions get involved, everything, and that could just tank a deal just alone. Whereas with us, we're held to a certain standard that we have to uphold. And so professionalism and making sure that your goals come across clearly in negotiations and that your goals are being put first. So I represent, when you sign a representation either on the seller or the buyer side, your goals are going number one for me. So when a buyer comes to your home and decides to write an offer with their agent, I'm representing your goals. So I'll present the offer to you, or I might be writing an offer on the buyer side. But as a seller, I'd present an offer to you, go over each item, what everything means to you. And let's say at the beginning you told me, my goal is to sell my home and also buy simultaneously. We might go through the offer and it might be a solid offer, but they're missing that little portion saying that it's contingent on you finding a home. So just making sure that no detail is missed in that process either is just something very crucial. Not really, I wouldn't say recognize as much, but just making sure that it's first and foremost, and it's happening in the background every day too.
So that to me is a huge part of the importance of what you guys do for people, because it's if not, and you screw up, is this something that you even want to risk the script? And people do. Oh my goodness. Right? I'm sure you see for sale by owners all the time. Yeah. And I'm sure you have some horror stories of for sale by owners that something happens and somebody thought they bought the house and didn't, and and I'm sure we could talk a couple hours on just stories like that, but
it's definitely, even with realtors too, that's why you want to make sure you're interviewing realtors. So a lot of people don't realize this, but you can interview you can interview as many realtors as you want.
And that's a normal thing. I think I want to put that out there. Maybe people feel pressure of, they're not trying to waste your guys' time, and they're not trying to make it seem like a competition thing, but that's because you're trying to find the right one for you, correct?
Absolutely. Even when we were looking for an investment person, we decided to go with you guys, but we talked to multiple people, and you want to compare around, you want to shop what people are saying. So my, what is the term for it? My value proposition may be different from the other person's value proposition. And I might be, let's say my cost might be higher than another person's. And keep in mind, everything's negotiable. So I might say, hey, I want this much and here's what I'm going to do for you. And then the next person might say, hey, I want less. I want a quarter of that. But then when you actually interview them, they might not even do any of that for you. So you want to make sure that, hey, the value is matching up to what you're paying as well. Because when you meet with one agent, you might only see like a little chunk of it, but then you might have another agent who's willing to go the extra mile for you. And yes, it might be a tiny bit more because they are worth more. But you have to actually sit down and have those hard conversations to be able to find that out.
So let's really give you an opportunity here on this side. And I like this and if you don't want to answer, that's fine. What do you think on your side? Because like you said, it's a very competitive business. People can interview multiple realtors and try and figure out what's best for them. For people maybe listening to this, what do you think that you bring to the table that sets you apart and allows you to really take somebody's hand and guide them through this process?
Yeah, so I would say that's what I do that's different is the marketing for one, to the personability. And I might not be for everybody. So you might sit down with me and decide like, gosh, she just does too much. Like, I don't want that. And that's okay. That is perfectly okay. I'm not meant for everybody. I'm meant for that person who needs it. So I handle a lot of marketing and I hold, even though you don't need a bachelor's and a master's degree to get into this business, but I took the extra schooling to get that marketing degree to understand that. Another thing too that some people see as a weakness, I see as a strength, is that I am young. So I am adaptable and I will adapt with any situation. So your goal might not be, your goal might not be to have the most exposure. You might want something different, and I'll adapt and change to every situation. So I do think that is a big point.
I love
too.
that. I love that you're able to see too that maybe not everybody's, you're not everybody's cup of tea, right? And that's okay. I think, and even in our industry, a lot of people get caught up as like, as soon as you walk through these doors, right, it has to work out because they want that. They want that connection and they want that client, obviously. But at the end of the day, it's a two-way street. You have to want them as a client and they want to have you as their agent or their mentor taking them through this process. But that's really cool that you're able to see that, it doesn't always work out that way.
Absolutely. And that's the one thing is, yes, I am negotiable on like my value and everything, but at the same time, this is my value.
And that's how you do it.
And so if you don't want that, like we could take out things. It might hurt you a little bit, but this is the value that I provide to earn what I make and also earn you what you're looking for out of selling your home.
And at the end of the day, it's the way that you've done it. At the end of the day, you are doing what you think is best for the client, right? I mean, and you've built your practice now, or I guess your business around your ideal thing of how to get the client either the best sale or the best buy or whatever that looks like. So that's awesome, and I think that's good for everybody to know too, because it makes them maybe have a little more ease that it's okay if you're with a realtor that you're like, maybe I don't really care for you. And it's okay to try other people. Maybe somebody will get you a little better opportunity or a better buy, different houses, whatever that looks like. So.
Absolutely. And so I'm willing to go that extra step with marketing and everything, but hey, you might find an agent who will take $200 cash, list your home on the market, take some iPhone pictures and call it a day. I can't sit well with marketing myself because at the end of the day, your listing I'm not only marketing your listing, but I'm marketing myself through selling your home. So I want to make sure I'm doing the best job possible to attract other clients in future business.
So would you say then a good place for people if they were interested in looking at some of the work, go check out some listings? Go follow your Instagrams or your Facebooks and go look at what you're doing now, because I think that's a great way of they can see what the opportunity looks like if they were going to sell or buy with you.
Absolutely. And I encourage my clients to, even if you're not in the market to buy, come to my open houses, come see what I have to do.
Awesome.
I'll sit down with you and show you all my marketing materials. I'll share what I have because I know if you want to go and recreate it, sure, go, by all means do it. But most people don't have the time to sit there and do all that stuff, or don't want to, and don't want to show the full package. So I'm here. I'm full package. So.
Love that.
Gosh.
So as far as employment goes, and this is where I think it's interesting, you're with Century 21.
Yes.
Are you exclusively with Century 21? Are you employed by them? How's that work? Because I know you talk to certain people, and there's different companies out there, and is that the wrapper? Kind of walk me through that too.
Yeah, so I am a 1099 contract agent.
Okay.
When you sign up to take the classes and get your license, you affiliate with a brokerage. So this would be like if you're deciding you want to become an agent or a realtor, you would sit down with brokers and talk with them, kind of make sure you guys align and figure out what that because different brokerages have different value propositions as well.
And this is prior to taking your test, actually.
So you could do it before, you could do it while you're taking your classes, really any time in between there. It depends on your goals and what you're trying to do. But it's really flexible. And so I decided to put my license with Century 21 Lakeside, so they hold on to my license. And they also, their brokers manage over me. So if there's any problems, I go to them, or if there's anything compliance wise, they help make sure I'm staying straight and narrow. But so you can affiliate with really any brokerage in the area. You'll do that, and then from there you're a 1099 employee, so you don't have a W-2 at the end of the year. You don't you have to file your own taxes and set aside money for that too.
Now, obviously, on the financial side, and the financial advisor starts coming out at me a little bit, being 1099 and self-employed income is kind of what that, for anybody that maybe is a little confused on that. Is there 401ks? Is there 403? Is there retirement plans through Century 21?
So no, there's not. And I guess I didn't even personally see the importance of investing in that until, you approached me about it. So you do have to take that responsibility on and do it yourself. And there are agents who make that mistake and they don't set themselves up for a future. I don't know about you, but I want to retire one day.
I think that's right. That's kind of the end goal for a lot. But because I got to thinking about that after we talked, and that was originally we had our conversations. It was just I think that's something that also gets overlooked with a lot of 1099 income. And I'm not saying the real estate business in general, but anybody out there that has that, and obviously there's routes to go around that we've discussed in the past and have taken action on. But it's a great way to make a living, and it's awesome because you're kind of your own entity.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, there's definitely, and I don't want to say setbacks, but there's other opportunities that different jobs could give you that now you have to kind of take upon yourself with the taxes, with the retirement plans, with
even insurance. You don't get, there's benefits in different aspects, but not in terms of healthcare, retirement.
It's all on you.
It's all on you. That's my responsibility. And gosh, do you, what misconceptions do you guys have on it too? It's just insane. But
no, that's awesome. So I don't know, what the time's looking like, and we're getting to. I kind of want to get to tips and tricks. I think that's something I think it'd be cool for people to kind of pick up on. If there's anything from this video that going through the process, but then as a seller or buyer, is there any tips, tricks, rule of thumb things that come to your mind that you're kind of I think people should know this on either side of the ball. And I'm not saying this needs to be an in detail thing, but what comes to mind when I say that of maybe things to make their life easier, starting the first time home buyer? What's some tips and tricks to kind of set the stage for them?
Absolutely. So for first time home buyers, some tips and tricks that I would have for them would be tips really are, one, get pre-approved. I know it's really hard, and it's that's the big step that you take is figuring out you can afford, but talk to lenders, become comfortable with the pre-approval process and everything like that. Once you're pre-approved and everything and you're shopping for a home, don't take out other loans, don't buy a car. We're not creating debt. We're not missing our payments, because that does affect your pre-approval.
Okay, so so outside loans can also affect your pre-approval.
So
if things change from the time you get pre-approved to buy, and numbers might not add up at that time then.
You want to make sure when you're making any big financial decisions while you are under contract or while you're pre-approved for a mortgage, you need to talk to your lender. Because they will be able to tell you, let's say you want to go buy a big fancy truck. you need to talk to your lender and make sure that that still will help you, because your debt to income will change if you decide to finance a truck. Or if you decide to take that out of the account that you're using for your down payment, that changes your down payment and changes factors for your lender. So you want to make sure that you're staying as transparent as possible. And I mean, sometimes it's uncomfortable telling people your business, like, I want to go buy and finance a truck, like, but they're only going to be able to help you if you tell them and you're open with them about
everything. Like everything else, right? On the real estate side, on the financial side, we can only help as much as you're willing to give us. And the information you need to disclose so we can see the full picture to help you, again, buying a house, investing money, whatever that looks like. So
and then I would say another one would be get a home inspection. Everybody goes off of what their dad says or what Joe Schmo, Uncle Tom says, and that's perfectly okay. If they are a licensed contractor and understand completely like how a home functions and all of that, that might be okay. But I highly recommend you to go through a licensed home inspector, get your home looked at, because as a first-time home buyer, it's scary already buying a home and making that huge investment. You don't need to buy a home, waive your inspection, and then the day after closing. I mean, an inspection's $500 on average. So it might be vary depending on what add-ons you do and if you just decide to do like a base package or not. But if you decide to waive your inspection, waive that $500 fee, you might end up, I mean, day after closing with a pipe burst or your hot water heater goes out. Simple things that could have been taken care of from the seller. I mean, negotiated at inspections. So you want to make sure you get a home inspection. That's like a big one.
I know a big one that I've heard of is mold. Mold seems to be a big, whether that was just from a wet home or a wet basement or, and I've dealt with it. I'm sure you know a lot of people that have as well. But no, it's something an inspection would probably cover, and being able to recognize it and say, hey, before you do something here, we probably need to get this taken care of.
Absolutely. And that's one thing that's scary is, I mean, you have a lot of people who are flipping homes in our area too. And mold can easily be covered up by drywall, by anything. So you want to make sure that when you're getting your home inspected, you might want to do the mold add-on. So let's say it's a fresh flip that they put on, but then they do an air test and find like, hey, there's mold in this room.
And it could be behind that wall, right?
Absolutely.
So, and for those of you that are home flipping, maybe let's take into consideration somebody that might be buying a house. You know who you are if you're watching this, I think.
Absolutely. And I mean, there's good flippers and there's, I think in everything, there's good and there's bad.
Bad apples in every bunch.
And there's, I mean, gosh, in our industry too, I feel like some realtors, real estate agents get a bad rep because there's agents that can't be trusted or that don't help
take
their
advantage.
buyers.
They take advantage. And same thing in our, I mean, it's funny because of how much it goes back and forth that we also have people that they just are out for themselves, and that's, it ends up putting a bad rap on everybody, which is unfortunate. But
well, and that goes back to like interviewing your agents. Make sure they're listening to you when you're having a conversation with them. Make sure they're actually hearing what you have to say. Make sure they're understanding your goals and that they are looking out for you. Not that they're trying to like make the most amount of money off of your sale, like that they actually want to help you. Because anybody can go put a for sale sign in your yard and get your home offers. I mean, you could do that yourself. You could put a sale sign in your yard and sell your home. But an agent that sets himself apart from everybody else is going to go that extra mile and make sure your goals are protected. So yeah, it goes around just with trustworthiness too.
So what's the biggest mistake you see in maybe first time home buyers? Is it the pre-approval or is it?
So I'd say a big one would be if you're not working with a dedicated lender or agent is things that are overlooked. So overlooking that you shouldn't get a loan or overlooking different terms in a contract. So you might go into a home and see that there's a washer and dryer there, and then your realtor doesn't inform you, hey, the washer dryer is not staying. They don't go over the contract with you and see that that's not in there. And you come to the closing table, sign, and you don't have a washer and dryer. Then, I mean, that might get overlooked. Some other things like that would be your agent's responsibility to make sure you know about is doing a final walkthrough. So when you go to write an offer on the home, you have an inspection and then you have that nice gap of time where you might not even go see the home. I mean, it's absolutely open to if you wanted to go back into the home at any time, as long as it's okay with the seller, you can go back through and walk through. But some people, after the inspection, they don't see their home until after they close. So it's important to do a final walkthrough, and sometimes that does get overlooked by either agents or by buyers, and they don't see the importance of it. But that final walkthrough will most likely be when the seller has completely moved out.
Gotcha.
So they might take that frame off the wall
Right.
and see that there's a huge hole in there,
Right.
or
Right.
that there's different things
Right.
that you guys didn't discuss, or while
Yep.
they're moving, they might have thrown a chair out
Yep.
the window and
Yep.
broken glass. So making sure you're doing a final walkthrough, testing everything, that it's in the same condition as when you first looked at the home and decided it was the one for you.
So would you say maybe some of the biggest mistakes are not being comfortable asking questions?
Yeah,
and I think
absolutely.
that's a big one in ours as well. You know, I think on both sides, clients be ready to ask questions.
Yeah.
Learn about the process as well. Don't just. And I take that both ways, because at the same time you want them to trust you, that this is your job. Kind of take your hands off and do it. But as well, it's their house. You can't choose the house for them.
No.
So when they're
I'm
at
not
the
living
house,
there.
right? Exactly. So when they're at the house and they're checking it out, and I like this, I don't like this. Don't be afraid to ask those questions of, is this normal? Should I be concerned about this? The process, what it looks like, because I think sometimes that is where clients can get themselves into a sticky situation of they just never asked, and then it comes time and it comes up and they're like, I'm kind of uncomfortable with that because I should have asked.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing I will say is, if your realtor, if your investment financial advisor is not letting you ask questions or not answering your questions, run. Like, don't work with them, because there are agents and myself like that will answer your questions and make sure that I want to make sure you understand what you're signing. Because even though I want to take a lot of the burdens off of you, you need to understand what you're doing.
Right.
You need to understand what you're doing. You need to understand what you're reading, understand this process, so that you can be comfortable the entire time. And I won't represent somebody who does not want to understand what they're signing. I mean, we need to either sit down in front of each other and go over the contract together, or get on a phone call and talk about the contract and go over it together and make sure you understand. Because, I mean, gosh, you might be expecting the washer and dryer to be included, but on the contract, it's not being included. So we need to talk about that, talk about what's included, what's not included, and make sure that we're on the same page. So you understand the big financial investment you're making. And I'm sure same way for you too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to, and again, it's not that we don't want clients to trust us, and the hands-off approach of, this is why I'm paying you guys to do what you do. But at the same time, make sure it's something you're comfortable with. Make sure it aligns with the goals. And again, with interviewing different advisors or different realtors, making sure what you want, this person is going to be able to lead you in that way of getting to that goal.
Absolutely.
And that's the only way to figure that out, is questions and getting comfortable with them and figuring out their process and how you'll both end up in that same spot. So no, I think that's awesome. I'm sure we're coming up on a good spot here. Is there any last thoughts, any tips, tricks? And I know we kind of went through that one. Is there anything that you would want anybody watching this to kind of leave with that's like, okay, I understood this?
Yeah. I guess one big thing too to understand is everything's negotiable in real estate.
And now, do you think that's an overlooked fact?
Yeah.
Do you think people just go in, it's like, oh, whether it's from the realtor, it's like, oh, I'm not comfortable with that. But instead of saying anything, they just kind of, it's too expensive for me, or is that?
Absolutely. So everything in the process is negotiable from start to finish. When we sit down and talk about rates, talk about what my value is and everything, that's negotiable. When we write an offer, that offer is negotiable. So we might go back a couple times with the seller before we actually get a deal. After inspections, that inspection report is negotiable to an extent if there were things previously disclosed that you signed off on. But that inspection report's negotiable. Appraisal, once that comes back, if it's not at value, that's negotiable. There's so many different things that are negotiable, rather than just throwing in the towel. Because I mean, you have that sometimes. Buyers that aren't educated enough might get a report back showing like the roof is old, or no question is too small. The worst that they could say is no. So let's say the roof comes back bad and they're like, oh, I just want out of the contract. But like the seller was willing to put on a brand new roof. So, I mean, just understanding that, I mean, with real estate, everything is what you're comfortable with, is what I tell my clients. Is I want you to be comfortable and know that at the end of the day, you're sleeping well knowing that you're happy to buy a home or you're happy to get out of buying a home. So I want to make sure throughout the process, if you're working with myself, or even if you decide not to work with me, if I'm not the one for you, make sure whoever's representing you is comfortable, that is making you feel comfortable.
And don't be afraid to bring up what you're not comfortable with.
Absolutely.
Right?
100%.
The negotiation is always something that can be settled and worked on. So,
yeah. So
that's awesome. Well, I think that's probably it for this one. I appreciate you guys taking the time to watch. For whoever jumped on here, I will get some of Jessica's information and do a little split screen here at the end of this. You'll see, and I'm sure I'll throw it at the beginning, so you probably already saw it, of just her contact information and how best to get a hold of her. And then same thing with me. I'll put my stuff on there. So if there's any questions on either side of the table that you want to get answered, or reach out to her, reach out to myself, and we can lead you one way or the other. So Jess, I appreciate you coming on, and that was pretty fun and awesome, and some great information. And I hope you guys were able to take something away from this. But that'll be it for the first episode of Beyond the Numbers with Max Messett on the podcast. So we'll catch you on the next one.